everyone, today I'm going to be talking and reviewing Tiefe Taschen. Now in this game for 4 to 8 players, each player is going to kind of assume the role of a corrupt politician. The objective is to embezzle as much money as possible before the state goes bankrupt. So Tiefe Taschen has several kind of aspects about board game that I absolutely love, including bluffing, negotiation, and simultaneous card play. So on paper, it sounds like it's going to be a good fit for me. So let's show you how it plays, and I will give my thoughts straight after. So let's get into it. Okay, to set up a game of Tiefe Taschen, every player is going to be given the same amount of money, which is kept secret from the other players throughout the course of the game. They're going to be given 2 of these bribe tokens, which are double-sided. They're going to be given a private investigator and 5 action cards. Then there's a big stack of money in the center of the table, which is called the treasury. And depending on the amount of players, you're going to shuffle this bankruptcy card into the deck. So this is a pretty cool idea here. So as you can see, you've got the different player counts there. And you will actually put that card into wherever that line comes on the stack. Because I've only got one hand here, I can't really show you, but that's just how it works. Okay, so now you're ready to play the game. So to start the game, somebody is going to be assigned as the president, and you can decide this randomly. And their job is to draw a number of cards from the treasury, face up, equal to the amount of players in the game. So let's say we're playing a 4-player game here. I'll draw 4 cards from the treasury. Okay, so once the cards are drawn from the treasury, it is up to the president to distribute this money however he sees fit. Now, he doesn't actually have to kind of give 1 card each, so he could do that if he wanted to, but what he could do is he could even give himself all the money, or he could give maybe half the money to himself and distribute the other out, however he wants. But this is what kind of is going to kind of spark the conversation and negotiation, and it'll also determine what actions you take with your action cards. Okay, so once the president is satisfied with his distribution of the money, everyone is going to choose one of their action cards and place them face down and reveal them consecutively. And then, depending on what the action card is, certain things will happen. So the first action card is vote yes. So this basically means that I'm voting to keep the president in power. So the chances are I'd be happy with the amount of money I'm given and kind of want to keep getting these payments from the president. So in this situation, I probably wouldn't vote yes because I only got a very small piece of the pie. Whereas this player who got the 7 million would probably vote yes because he's going to want more of the same. So the president himself can actually vote yes on himself. You're going to need a majority no vote in order to get the president out of power. So ties kind of favour the president. The second action card is vote no. Now this means that you're not happy with the distribution and you want to vote for a new president. So if there's a majority no vote, then that president is now, the current president is now out of the game for this round, and the presidency will be passed to the next player, and then that player will then distribute the money how he sees fit, and a vote will and the actions will be taken again. The third action available is take from the treasury. Now this means that you take the top card from the treasury stack here. Now, what's important about this is that the first player who played this, starting from the president going clockwise, is the only one who gets to use this ability. So if the president played it himself and it got round to me and I played this card, that would just be a wasted action and I wouldn't get anything at all. The fourth available action is blackmail, and this is where the private investigators come in. So what you can do is you can kind of freely move your investigator around. So say I put it in front of this player, and then I played my blackmail card, then I would actually get to choose one of his kind of personal money stash at random and add it to my personal money stash. So that's a good way of getting money off people and kind of boosting your own kind of pot of money. But what's kind of cool about this is the 5th action card, which is the counter blackmail card. So say I played my blackmail card, and this player played his counter blackmail card, then he'll actually take one of my money instead. But what kind of makes this more interesting is that these private investigators, they can be used even if you're not kind of going to use the blackmail. So they're kind of a bluffing aspect. So it just kind of shows that if I am going to play my blackmail card, then it will be used on you. So there's this real kind of bluffing aspect where, oh, is he just using that as a diversion, or is he actually going to blackmail me this turn? So in other words, should I play my counter blackmail in order to save my funds, or am I actually going to use my vote to keep the president in power, or am I going to take from the treasury? So there's kind of loads of really cool decisions that interact really well with each other. Another thing that's really cool about Tiefe Taschen is the ability to bribe other players. Now this is done during the negotiation and before the actual action cards are played. So what I can do here is, well, as you can see, we have two different tokens. This one is vote yes. This one means anything but vote yes. This one's vote no, and this is anything but vote no. So what I can do is I can take some of my my money. So let's say I got the $3 million dollars, and I could put this face down or face up in front of another player, and then I could put my token on top of it. Now what this means is that if the player who I'm trying to bribe takes the vote no action, they actually get this as well. So there's a good way of kind of convincing other players to do your bidding. And it just adds another really cool layer of negotiation and kind of deception and just general underhandedness and corruption to the game. Once all the actions have been resolved, then the current president will distribute a new set of money out, and the process will continue until the bankrupt card is drawn. Once that card is drawn, people will tally up their own pot of money, and the player with the most money wins. And that's how you play Tiefe Taschen. So let's get into my thoughts on the game. Okay, so Tiefe Taschen really excels in its flow of play. There's absolutely no downtime here and zero opportunity to lose interest. You're going to be constantly engaged, trying to make as much money as possible. And the fact that that bankrupt card can come out at any second really creates this tension, and it makes every single money distribution extremely vital to your success. You really can't afford to have a bad round in this if you want to win. So you're going to have to know when to kind of dig your claws in and know when and where, or kind of get into the head of your opponents to play the best action. And that level of engagement is really, really excellent. The simultaneous card play works perfectly, and you're going to be constantly kind of changing your mind and changing the card before those decisions are locked in, just based on the vibe of the other players and what they're discussing. And you're just always thinking that you're going to be doing the wrong thing. And that works especially in regards to the private investigators. That whole mechanic is just so interesting because it can be a complete bluff. You could have absolutely no intention of blackmailing someone, but just put your guy in front of them just to create a bit of tension and make them feel that paranoia of having their money stolen from them. It just, I don't know, the kind of general vibe of the game is just so high energy. You're going to get so many laugh out loud moments, and the tension of each card play is just amazing. With Tiefe Taschen being a kind of social interaction game, then obviously a lot of your success is going to come from reading the other players, reacting to your kind of gut feeling, and just getting a feel for what others are going to do. But I really think there's kind of a hidden layer of strategy here. And that's because you can go into the game with a game plan. If you start as the president, for example, you could go in with the intention of keeping all the other players sweet so they don't vote you out of power. And maybe you can get your fortune by just taking backhanders from the treasury. Or you could even form a kind of small coalition by persuading, 2 or 3 other players to constantly vote yes for you in order to treat you well. In order for you to treat them well, sorry. So although you might kind of annoy half of the table by giving them no money, you can stay in power by relying on a few people. And I love that kind of us versus them thing. It's really cool. If you're not the president, you can make a very viable kind of route to victory by just ass kissing the president. Just constantly promise him that you're going to vote yes for him if he treats you well. And I've seen games of this won by completely schmoozing the president. It's just really funny by the end of the game when you think, how did you win that? Just by voting yes every round. Um, but if you're not being treated well by the president at all, it's completely viable to win just by blackmailing others. So I love the different routes to victory here, and personally I love just taking a hybrid of those things and just reacting on the fly. There's just so many paths to victory, and that's what makes for a great game in my opinion. Now, I love that Tiefe Taschen is an absolute breeze to teach. Everyone's going to understand and know all the rules within 2 minutes, so you're going to start having a great time straight away. Now, that being said, this is obviously a social game, so it is very highly dependent on the kind of the personality of the players. You know, more kind of introverted players aren't going to get the same experience as extroverted players. So that's something to be aware of. You've got to be prepared for a lot of backstabbing, a lot of kind of take that, a bit of nastiness. So you've really got to embrace the theme of the game and just get into the spirit of the game. Because if you're shy or you're upset, you know, you're kind of concerned of hurting other players' feelings, then you're not going to get the most out of this. You just got to, you know, get into the mood of the game, understand that this is just a game, and just embrace the negotiation and the corruption. In regards to the game's theme, I think Tiefe Taschen does a really good job. I mean, although there's a really simple framework here, there's no kind of flavour or anything like that, but you really do feel like a kind of political scumbag when playing this. And I mean that in the best way. You're going to be constantly breaking your promises, taking, you know, bribing people, taking bribes, and just those simple rules just facilitate such a great thematic experience. And you're going to be very, very immersed in the game. Now, the components themselves are pretty basic, they're functional. The artwork is pretty, you know, pretty average. There's nothing overly inspiring here. A lot of the artwork is just duplicated, but in different colours. But it's really not a problem for me because you're not going to be looking at these cards for long periods of time. You're going to be looking, you know, at people in the eye. You're going to be talking to people face to face. So it's really not an issue. Now, I was quite impressed with the amount of tokens, and I like the little private investigators. You know, you get eight of those private investigators, all in different colours. 16 of the voting tokens. I don't know, I was just quite impressed with the amount of tokens you got in this. So that's something I can't complain about, especially with such a decent price point. I also think that Tiefe Taschen is highly replayable. And that's because you're going to get a very different experience each time you play. Because there's always going to be new players joining you, there's going to be new presidents, there's going to be different coalitions formed. There's just so many different moving parts. And even like the general kind of mood of the players is going to change how they react in the game. So I really think this game can go the distance, and I think it's going to stand the test of time. Overall, I think Tiefe Taschen is a phenomenal gaming experience. It really is the kind of bluffing and negotiation game I've always wanted. I can see this really taking off in the next few years, and it's going to be a staple of people's gaming collection, just like games like The Resistance or kind of Ultimate Werewolf. Although it's not social deduction, it does kind of have that feel to it. So for me, this is an absolute hit. I think it's a brilliant game. And I would strongly recommend this to players who like kind of any interactive or social games. So as you can tell, yeah, I'm a big fan of the game and would recommend this highly. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to my channel. For everyone else, I will see you next time on Chairman of the Board.